Tonight's shave is going to feature one of my favorite blades, Gillette Silver Blue. It's been used twice. It will be inside this Karve razor. This is the Christopher Bradley. Nice thick chunky head. I think it goes well with this Wolfman handle. And there we go. This base plate, with this razor, they offer different base plates so that you can have different levels of aggression. This is the C as in Charlie base plate. I tried the B a couple nights ago, and it was very comfortable for me, and it did an average job on my little trouble spot area right here. So we'll see how the C does. The soap tonight is, I believe this is Cold River Soapworks. This was a benefit soap to help one of the community users out because they had gotten very sick, and I purchased this used. And sometimes there's got to be a floral component in here, maybe like gardenias or something. But what's a little bit stronger, and this is probably why I think I might like it, is kind of an aquatic ocean ozone type of scent. I don't really know how to distinguish. Not ocean as in salty, but just kind of water, fresh water. I don't know how they put that in a scent. But that's it. Very clean, straightforward scent. Just kind of off-white color. You can see where to remove all doubt about how much soap you use and how long you should load and that sort of thing, you can melon ball out a certain amount with a measuring spoon. And that's what I did. This is a 1/4 teaspoon amount that has been put into the bottom of my Dollar Tree soup bowl. And I don't know if you can see how powdery it is, but it's very soft. It's a very soft soap. That's why I went with the full 1/4 teaspoon. Harder soaps, I usually back off a little bit. Let's just see what happens here. And the other last bit of business is a Mozingo handle I really like. And then this is a Silvertip knot, about 23mm-ish, from Frank Shaving. And they did put the keyword density in there as well, so we'll just see what that means. I've only used it one other time and it was a bit prickly. But since that time, I've washed it out with some soap. I've put some conditioner in it as well. A few of the hair tips on this have hooked, and so I wonder if that's what's going to happen to the rest of them. We'll see. All right, I'm going to get my face wet. I have pretty hard water. Not super hard, I think, but just reasonably hard. I slung out most of the water out of the brush. I've got big hands, and this Mozingo handle is just a little taller, and so more for me to grab. And since it's also taller, it helps to keep my fingers from getting quite as soapy. When you're a bowl latherer, that is sometimes a concern. So I'm coming into the soap with just a damp brush, because I don't know how much water this soap's going to take. There are a few out there where you don't want to come at it with a wet brush. But I believe the average is you could kind of dip your brush in water, bring it up and have it be dripping. Just kind of give it a couple of shakes so that it no longer drips. It's often a good starting point, like a little shortcut. But there are a few soaps that is counterproductive. I'm going to use my medicine syringe to see how much water this lather holds, and to be able to add it in very predictable and convenient increments. I just added about 1/4 of a teaspoon. So let's just see what. Starting to get some, oh, that's got a nice sheen to it. Starting to get some kind of proto lather, some thick stuff. Some soaps, it matters a lot how quickly you add water. It can make or break your lather. I have used Cold River Soapworks before. I recall it being pretty good. Nice soap base. We seem to be moving along pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and add another 1/2 teaspoon of water. This brush on the first use was kind of prickly. I had not had that happen before on any badger brush, much less a Silvertip. Don't know if they sent me the wrong brush, the wrong knot, or what. It's coming together nicely. Add another 1/2 teaspoon. Obviously, if I had left some water in my brush, like with that shake method, or if I had, then I would not be adding the water in such great quantities. Guys do videos online and you'll see them just add it a few drops at a time. Well, that's usually because they started out with more water in their brush. That's just fine. Once you kind of land on a soap that you like, you can get it dialed in and figure out the secrets. There are going to be long ways to make a good lather and short ways. So now we have a full 2 teaspoons in here of water for a 1/4 teaspoon of soap. Pull it down from the walls. It's often where some of the drier stuff gathers. So the quantity of lather here is not a whole lot quite yet. So let's see what happens as we keep going. I'll refill the syringe. You know, some soaps are touchy about using distilled water or soft water at least. I've used distilled water on a few soaps and had it be quite an improvement. I also read somewhere that you shouldn't use only distilled water. What you can do is maybe mix your distilled water with some of your own hard water, and the deposits will be reduced to less significant quantities, and you'll get a better performing lather without having to use full distilled water. I don't know what the problem would be with using pure all distilled water. I was also noting and reading that one reason to maybe use some kind of soft water would be to keep hard water deposits from forming on your brush. So you don't have to do a vinegar soak if you always use. You don't have to use a periodic vinegar soak, maybe once every 40 uses or so. May not have to do that if you always use distilled or you know, soft water for your brush. So got maybe a pass in the bowl, maybe 2 passes on the brush. It has increased a little bit. Let's kind of gather it all down at the bottom of the bowl here. Lift it up. Look at the peaks. Not really flexible peaks. Holding their own weight easily. With this kind of soap, I believe I can go ahead and keep pushing it a little further. So let's just add a bit more water. That clean scent is still coming up. That, you know, aquatic ozone, whatever it is. Now there I smell a little bit more of the florals. I'm not a florals guy, so hopefully that either stays kind of quiet or changes a little bit. Very nice sheen on the soap. Okay, let's do a finger test. Pull out a little bit, move my thumb over my fingertips. I can feel the resistance, and I'm guessing that's what we call cushion. But I'm also feeling the lubrication as I move my thumb across, and it leaves a wake there. Is the slickness preserved as I move back and forth, or does my thumb push it along with it and it doesn't remain on the tips? That's pretty good right there. If you move your, you know, at least this is my guess, okay, and my own experience. If I move my thumb along the fingertips and then I come back and that slickness is kind of gone, that means a couple of things. Number one, it's probably time to stop adding water. And number two, it might mean that the soap is just not as slick as, you know, a lot of them that are out there. All right, let's take a look now. Ah, see, a little bit more elasticity. And have a little bit of movement there. Just thanks to the water we just added. Let's just shave with this and see what happens. Get my face wet again. And I'm interested to see if this brush is going to be prickly like it was last time. Well, since it's a little thin right now, and my brush, I'm going to go ahead and collect up some more. The good news is I can just go back to the bowl and get a little bit more. It's okay if it's a little bit transparent, like see over here. That's just fine. Because in just a minute I'm going to switch away from the scrubbing action. See, and this could still be okay. Switch away from the scrubbing into the painting, and then see, look at all that soap around. That soap is now, when I'm scrubbing, that soap stays to the side of the brush. But as you can see, when I switch to painting, it starts to be applied to the face. On pass number one, since I don't wash my face before I shave, I use pass number one to do that. All right, clean up those hair follicles, maybe get those hairs to stand up straight. Now I switch to painting, and I try to move it so that those clumps that gathered up on the side of the brush Gotta get smoothed around on my face a little bit. I'm happy with this. I think I probably stopped at the right place. We shall see. Still plenty of lather on the bottom part of the brush. I think people who don't switch to that painting at the end of their application are always going to have a brush full of lather that's not on their face. Scent strength is maybe a 1 out of 10 right now. It was a little higher, maybe 2 or 3 as I was applying because of the motions and stuff, which I like in terms of strength. That's kind of my bottom threshold. I like it to be a little bit more, but that's all right. All right, so this is the C base plate. The top cap remains the same as with many adjustables, and the base plate here raises the blade or lowers it away from the guard bar here by small amounts to make the different levels of aggression. So let's see how this guy is. It was pretty easy last time to find the happy medium and the angle. Well, this is going very well so far. No tugging. It's efficient but smooth. A little bit of audio feedback. I'm liking this. This head, this base plate. It feels very, you know, I am feeling the cutting, but it's very comfortable. And it feels like it's being very efficient. Of course, we'll check the results at the end of the shave. My neck hairs go sideways, so while going up and down on the cheeks is with the grain, from the top to the bottom on the neck is a cross grain pattern, and I'll basically just do 3. All my passes will pretty much be cross grain on my neck. I don't think I would want to push this soap any far with the water, so let's just make sure we make a note. Almost half of the syringe here, the second one, and so that means almost 3 teaspoons of water. And I did have to kind of dip back into the bowl here. I'm guessing I'm going to have enough to do the job, but not too much more than that. I'm very glad that I went ahead and went with the whole 1/4 teaspoon. I felt the softness with the measuring spoon, and I thought, you know what, well, let's go ahead and get more. And that's an important point when you're thinking about value. I'm gonna rinse my face, a little half rinse. Not a whole lot of slickness right off the bat, but some soaps are like that because they are battling my oily skin. And I applied some balm here earlier, so it's extra oily right there. All right. You know what let's do? just a few dabs to make my skin just a hair drier, so that this slick soap won't have a problem. You can add less water to your soap, and what will happen is, if you're already at the top of the threshold with the level of hydration, it will start to get more creamy and sometimes more slick. But then you pass that happy medium and it will, it may stay more creamy and thick, but it won't be as hydrated, and when it's dry-ish, relatively speaking, it doesn't stick to the skin as well, and you'll have your razor come over your skin and it'll leave little splotchy patches of soap, and that's not as usually not as protective as having more water in there. Well, this should be fine, and it looks like I will have enough soap to do the job, but just barely. Yeah, a little too much on the florals. The scent strength is a little improved now, and that oceany, clean water type of scent is taking a back seat to some type of floral. So I'm liking this C plate. He's kind to us and stamps a C on the base plate. This is a Canadian maker. Fairly new razor on the scene. All bronze, brass. And this is bead blasted. As you can see, it's not all that shiny. I've seen people online who want to have a shiny one, so they'll take it, work on it with some polishing cloths, and it does shine up. Going slow in this sensitive area. I'm enjoying some good slickness here because I'm able to go back over areas where the lather has been removed. There are some soaps you can't do that with. Lather's rinsing easily from the razor, which means it's not too thick, but we kind of knew that wasn't going to be a problem. More slickness, definitely, while doing this particular half rinse. Definitely good enough to do the job for sure. But I'm probably going to guess, based on this, that it's about as slick as sterling. And sterling is definitely going to be the better value. I think you don't have to use as much soap, and then they give you more for the money as well. Definitely prickly. These tips, okay, I'm just guessing here, but as I push them in, I'm feeling some prickly tips, as if maybe, yeah. Initially I was going to guess like maybe a quarter of them were kind of prickly and pointy, but maybe most of them are. Just get a nice even coat. Really, this is almost feels like they sent me the wrong knot. Some kind of lower grade or something. Silvertip should not be prickly in any way. I mean, it's functional. It's not all that comfortable. The backbone of the bristles seems to be about where I like it, so that's cool. But the tips seem to be a little too pointy. All right. So far, this has been a great combination. Comfortable, especially. Just comfortable, I'll say. I forgot what I was thinking of. Oh, comfortable, especially on the second and third pass. On the third pass, one thing I like to do is shave the cheeks again with the grain, because they've already gotten shaven well enough. They've been shaved well enough. And so if I can cut a few more hairs, then I know my angle is really good. Cross grain pattern here, but then over here I switch and go up, because that seems to be a little more effective at this trouble spot I have right here. Recently I shaved with some Deluxe's vintage razors from Gillette. Gillette New Deluxe. Terrific shave. The 15mm gave me maybe one of the best, closest shaves I've ever had without going against the grain. Now this looks pretty good too. Not that good, but I did do 2 touch-ups with the other one, so we'll give this the same fair shake. I do feel a little tiny bit of irritation just in my neck area here. So it looks like, as you recall, we got to the stage where the lather tips were had started getting a little long, and they were moving a little bit. They weren't totally rigid. Maybe with this soap, we don't want to get to that stage. If you want it more kind of creamy and stuff. So maybe get to the fixed, where the peaks are a little bit longer, but they are not moving very much at all, you know, not too elastic. And of course, if we ever kind of run out of lather, which I pretty much have, doesn't happen very often, we can go back to the tub. Just a few drops of water in the tub here. Stir it a few times. Let's just see what happens. I'll put a few more drops of water on top of that. Don't really have to do scrubbing on the third pass, but I did add some more soap to the brush. Yeah, see, it's generating it coming out the sides of the brush now. And you can also smell the new soap coming in. It's more concentrated, so the scent is there for you. I do feel a tiny bit of kind of irritation, tingling in this area. Like I said, very low key, like 1 out of 10. And let's see, am I doing a 4th pass now? Yeah, so let's just get this stuff off my cheeks. Just got carried away with the new soap added to the brush. All right, I gotta do this slow and just with enough pressure to keep the blade on the skin. You know, this chrome handle, not chrome, but brushed stainless steel, looks very smooth, and it is. But there's something about the surface that still works very well, even when it's wet. I don't have any problem holding on to it, even when wet. No knurling on it or anything else. Must just be kind of a micro situation. If you look at it really close, maybe those the brushing is just giving you just a little friction to keep it in your hands. So it looks good and it's safe and stable too. You rinse. So that was very slick. So you can tell I went back to the puck and got some juice. So let's use what's left on the brush to kind of work up a little bit of lather. The hairs go this way, and so I am tilting. I'm not using this hand down here to stretch my skin, but I'm tilting my razor so that I don't agitate my skin with a kind of against the green pass. All right. All right, full rinse. I'm going to pause you while I do that. That is an above average result. The skin felt a little bit more irritated than with the C guard or base plate, but I was also using a different blade, and very good coverage right here. I do see a few some tips around there, but I don't see any length, and that means it's above average for me. And so with a little more, tiny bit more discomfort, you will get a little bit better result so far. Whether it's worth it, it's up to you to decide what kind of how much you value comfort versus a close shave. Now, of course, if you're a kind of person who can go against the grain, either case is fine because it's going to cut really well, at least if you have skin and hair like me. All right, so that wasn't too aggressive. If I had to compare it to a Timeless, it's more aggressive than the 68. It might be just as aggressive as the 95, but probably not. My initial guess is just a hair down from the 95. So we'll see what the D plate feels like maybe tomorrow. All right, during the break, my face had a chance to kind of dry, and I'm thinking about 90% baby butt smooth on the cheeks without going against the grain. The post-shave I decided on is one I haven't used in a while. Bon Vivant, which is a product of Chatillon Luxe, if I'm pronouncing it right. And it is a kind of off-white colored salve. It's kind of a thick paste. You rub it around in your hands a little bit and let it get warm, and then it loosens up and becomes more like melted butter. And then you can spread that all over your face. Nice scent, and it's really hydrating for the skin. Really good. So the feel, post-shave feel, I'd say maybe a 1 out of 10 in terms of irritation, like I was saying, kind of in this area. But I feel 0 now, and it's maybe been 10 minutes after the shave. The results are really good right here in my problem area. So this is a great matchup in terms of the Gillette Silver Blue blade, along with the Christopher Bradley C, the C base plate. There's like a double A and an A and a B and a C and a D. So this, I am going to, my initial assessment is that this C base plate is a little on the aggressive side of that little midpoint between smooth and comfortable and efficient. And so it's a little bit on the aggressive side. It's not quite right in the middle. Whereas the B seemed to be a little the other way. These hairs right here, after 2, maybe even 3 passes, they did not cut them as closely with the milder guard on there, the B guard. And I think they call them guards, and I'm used to saying base plates because of other manufacturers. So they're synonymous in this case. And so that might help you in some way to figure out which one might be for you. Show it to you right quick just for more details. So here's the guard, or the base plate. In 2 corners you can see the C, and in the bottom of it got some writing, how it's made in Canada and the name of the company, and also the C's again in the diagonal corners. And this top part here, these are the safety bars, and this is the riser here that governs how aggressive it is. That'll be a tiny bit thicker for the more aggressive and a tiny bit thinner for the less aggressive. So there you go, Christopher Bradley razor from Karve, K-A-R-V-E. And then here is the top cap. Got little indentions here. Makes it very easy to know if you've got a blade in there. And I also think it gives it some style points. I like it. And here is that Gillette Silver Blue blade that's been used twice, and now it's been used 3 times. Alright. So there's my take on the Christopher Bradley with a C plate. The D, what am I going to guess about the D? It's going to be a little bit more aggressive than that. So I'm curious, is it going to be a little too harsh? With the C, I did feel that if I wasn't careful, I might nick myself. But I wasn't afraid. I felt like it was very stable. I like the feel. It is still a smooth razor. But with this blade in there, it's cutting me really well. The hairs are cut efficiently, they're cut flush, really good. But that also means that blade edge is on your skin. irritating it a little bit sometimes. So maybe it's a great one to make sure you have a really good, slick, protective soap. And that's kind of how I view the Timeless 95. It sometimes generates a little bit of irritation with certain blades, and I do feel like if I'm not careful with it and make a slip, that I might get some razor burn or a cut. But I do also feel at the same time that it's very, very safe as long as I'm not careless, and a lot of confidence with it. And so in that sense, this may be kind of close to that. It's close to that 95 in terms of the feeling about it. I'm going to guess it's a little bit less aggressive than the 95 in terms of aggression. So the D might be kind of aggressive. It'll be interesting to see. It's probably not as bad as my Blackbird, but maybe we'll give it a shot tomorrow. We'll definitely know to watch it and be careful. Be careful with it. See what kind of shave we get. Alright, well, that's all the post-shave product I'm going to do. That salve is just so good. I'm not going to worry about witch hazel, the Thayer's tonic that I do. The amount of lather that was left over, very little, and that's with me going back to the soap. I ended up adding a little bit more water, so 3 teaspoons is where we ended up. And I think the Gillette Silver Blue blade is a great match for this razor. And especially if you have a slant motion and you watch your hair direction, make sure you're not, in terms of comfort, make sure you're not hitting it at a against the grain type angle. Then I think you could, if your skin and hair is like me, then you can expect a good shave, a comfortable shave too. And it was smooth on. You might even be able to get away with just 2 passes and maybe a touch up, and that may give you less irritation on your face. So there we go. Hope this helped you. The Karve is a new razor, the Christopher Bradley, and so maybe this will help to get some good information out there on it. I'm liking it so far. One more thing I will say is that as I think about the B and the C, one thing that hit my mind as I shaved and after I shaved with the B was that there was a good number of razor and blade combinations that would give me the same result as the B plate. And so in that sense, a little higher price might not be as worth it because of all the other offerings. As I think about that same concept with the D plate, I think there are fewer razors out there that might offer you that same, that same feel, the same performance, same efficiency. There are definitely some, don't get me wrong, but this seems to make the Bradley razor a little bit better of a buy, to me at least. That's the impression that I'm getting after the first shot with it, because it's a good quality piece, lasts lifetimes it seems, and with that C plate, I think it brings something to the table that is not as available. You've got adjustables out there, the Rockwell in similar place with the base plate exchanges, and you've got other adjustables with dials and things that can get more aggressive. Of course there's that. So, but the C plate brings something interesting to the table that I do like.